Do you ever feel as though you're falling behind financially? You look around and it seems as though everyone has got it figured out and is sailing past you, whilst you struggle to even stay afloat. And with a constant stream of success stories being thrown into your face, it's easy to think that you're the only one struggling. But what if you're actually better off than you think? So today I'm going to reveal 12 signs that you might actually be doing better than you think financially, even if it doesn't feel like it, but backed by real data. And I want to share a story that I think perfectly captures why so many people feel this way. Stick with me on this one. This guy's an astronaut. Clearly, but one of the most decorated astronauts in history. He flew 66 missions during the Korean War as a fighter bomber, was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, was the oldest man to travel to the South Pole when he was 86, was awarded the NASA Distinguished Service Medal, and a Toy Story character was named after him. But the thing he is most famous for is being the second guy on the moon, just a few steps behind this guy, Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon. So in a world that is constantly showing you Neil Armstrongs, it's easy to think that you're a Buzz Aldrin, even if you are doing incredibly well. And more on Neil and Buzz a bit later on in the video. So let's get into the first sign. So the first sign is you have less than £2,000 in credit card debt. Credit card debt has become completely normalised, and every year companies are spending billions and billions of pounds to try and part you from your money. And they don't care if you pay cash or if you use a credit card. And we've seen credit card balances increase over time. You can see that in these green bars here, and the percentage that people are paying in contributions each month is falling. This means that people are going to be paying more and more interest at a higher and higher rate. But this isn't a blip. This is a continuous trend that we've seen increasing over time. And it's no surprise that we're seeing an increase in insolvencies to go along with this. And there's no getting around this. Avoiding high interest credit card debt is going to be a fundamental part of building wealth. The high fees erode your net worth. Making minimum payments will only lead to a snowball effect of higher interest and higher balances. But it's not just credit card debt, it is also your overdraft. It's estimated 19% of UK adults use their overdraft on a regular basis. So whilst credit cards might be most prevalent, they're by no means the only one. The second sign is you don't live paycheck to paycheck. It's estimated around 1 in 3 Brits say they struggle to make it to the next payday, and 32% of UK adults have less than £100 left at the end of each month. So frankly, not living paycheck to paycheck can be a really powerful indicator that you're doing something right. It demonstrates you've got some degree of financial stability and security. You're keeping your expenses under control, you're living below your means, and you're investing the difference. Because don't forget, you can only build wealth with the money that you keep at the end of every month. So it's not just about the money you have, it's what you're doing with it, how you're allocating it, where you're saving it, where you're just eking out that little bit extra from it every single month. If you aren't living paycheck to paycheck, then statistically you're doing better than a lot of people. The third sign is you have an emergency fund. So about 1 in 4 adults have less than £100 in savings, and only 44% of UK adults say they could handle an unexpected £300 expense without having to borrow for it. And this is really where your emergency fund steps in. What would you do if you lost your job, you had to repair your car, you had an unexpected bill that came in? This is literally why people have emergency funds. So if you have even a small buffer of cash so that you can dip into for those unexpected bills, then already you're doing better than nearly half of all people in the UK. Now, typical good financial practice is generally to have between 3 and 6 months of your fixed living expenses in your emergency fund. That gives you the flexibility to be able to take opportunities and take risks when you want to, but it also gives you some level of comfort if you do have to dip in for one of those unexpected bills. So having an emergency fund at all puts you in the top tier in the UK. The next sign is you regularly save every month. 1 in 5 UK adults have no savings at all, and over 1 in 4 adults save nothing monthly. Now, NatWest released this report about how people are saving in the UK, and take a look at this. So if you can save £50 a month, that makes you better off than a quarter of people in the UK, a sign that you're really starting to do better financially. And in the same report, it was revealed that the average UK resident saves an average of £226 per month. So putting money away every month is paying your future self, going towards building your wealth and building your retirement fund, making sure that you can live comfortably and have options later on. So again, if you can put money away every month, even if it's a modest amount, then you're doing pretty well. The next sign is you have an investment account. So it's estimated only 11% of UK adults invest in stocks and shares outside of their pension. This is really top tier, top level stuff. If you are investing and building wealth outside of your pension using a stocks and shares ISA, that means you're in the top 10% of people in the UK. You are doing unbelievably well, so kudos to you. You're part of a very small but very financially forward-thinking group of people. A stocks and shares ISA is a tax-free wrapper that you can pay money into up to £20,000 a year, and you pay no income or capital gains tax or dividends tax as your pot grows over time. It is one of the most important wealth-building tools that we have available to us in the UK. The £20,000 has stayed where it is for the last few years, but it is still a really generous limit. And it's estimated that only about 4% of ISA holders are even able to max the £20,000 a year limit. Alongside your pension, this is such an important wealth building tool. It comes with way more flexibility than your pension because you can access the money anytime you like and there are no withdrawal limits. So if you've made it this far into the video and you're in this group of people who have got a stocks and shares ISA, I tip my cap to you. The next sign is you've automated your finances. There is so much empirical evidence at this point that automating your finances is one of the key parts to building wealth. You turn yourself into a consistent investor, not a sporadic saver. And again, there's plenty of empirical evidence on this one as well. Take a look at this here. Investors who stay the course fare much better over time, according to JP Morgan research. Take a $10,000 investment in the S&P 500 index. For the investor who put $10,000 in the S&P 500 in 2005, missing the 10 best market days would bring their portfolio value down from £71,750 had they stayed invested through all of 2024 to £32,871 for a 6.1% return. So over a 20-year period, if you miss the 10 best days, your potential returns are halved. And that is why being a consistent investor is so important. If you miss the 20 best days, your investment goes from $72,000 down to $19,000. So by automating this consistent investment, you're capturing all the gains of the market. And when you're investing over these long time horizons, that is just the key part to all of this. And there was this study here from Vanguard which found that automating your finances is one of the fundamental aspects to building wealth. Not to mention being one of the best predictors when it comes to building wealth and financial freedom. Your next sign, you maximize your pension contributions. Less than half of people in the UK maximize their pension contributions. Now, it's very easy to think that just because you're in your 20s, you can kick pensions into the long grass and worry about it further down the line. But this is a fundamental mistake and absolutely misunderstands how compound interest works. What it means is that the earlier you start, the less you actually have to contribute in order to get to the same overall pension pot. By giving yourself a longer time horizon, you let compound interest do more of the heavy lifting for you. Not to mention all the tax benefits that come with pension contributions. It can help reduce your taxable income, and if you're a higher rate taxpayer, you get even more tax relief when you make your pension contributions. So making sure you're maximizing your employer matching is one of the fundamental parts of building wealth. And if you're someone who is in this category who does actually maximize their pension contributions, then again, you're doing better than most people in the UK financially. You have insurance. So it's estimated that less than a third of people in the UK have life insurance, and potentially even fewer than that have contents insurance. And take a look at this graph here. This number has actually been declining from an already low point to an even lower point. So if you are insured, you are protecting your financial future and potentially, even more importantly, the financial future of people who rely on you. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it. Insurance might not necessarily grab the headlines or be portrayed in pop culture as being the super sexy part of finance, but that doesn't mean that it's any less important, especially when you have people who might rely on you financially, because the God's honest truth is nothing can potentially screw up a meticulously laid financial plan than just random shit happening. Insurance policies, and especially life insurance policies, can be the absolute bedrock, the absolute last line of defense should the worst happen. You have a basic understanding of personal finance. So just take a look at this here. It's estimated 23.3 million UK adults have poor financial literacy, making them £20,000 worse off compared to those with good financial literacy. Just 20% of people said they had a good, advanced or expert understanding of savings products, and even fewer, 12%, had a good understanding of investments. Now, we have discussed on this channel time and time again how good financial literacy has been linked to a whole plethora of good economic outcomes for people. Better retirement rates, better savings rates, better pension pot sizes, less debt, you name it. Now, I'm not saying you have to have a dozen screens with graphs all over the place or any nonsense like that, but just understanding some of the fundamentals and some of the basics of personal finance can just make such a difference. And it's like getting fit. If you do absolutely no exercise, the gains that you make from going for a run twice a week are going to be significantly better than you working out 7 days a week instead of 6 days a week. Understanding the fundamentals can really be a game changer, and that would absolutely make sure that you're getting ahead financially. The next sign is you earn over £35,000 a year. Now, before we get into these numbers too much, we should also point out that the average income in the UK varies by age, by location. We've done a full video where we really break down the details about what the average wage is in the UK. Link will be just here and at the end, and I really recommend you watch it because we go into a good amount of detail. But as we've talked about, it's not just about what you earn, but what you do with that money, how you spend it, how you prioritize it, how you budget with it. So earning is one thing, but what you do with the money can be way more important. And I think this leads us on to another very interesting point, which is people use their gross pay as the benchmark for how well they're doing financially. But it's perfectly conceivable that someone who makes 20 grand a year, who has a house that's paid for, who has minimal expenses and cheap hobbies, can be much more financially free than someone who makes £1 million a year, who has got several homes and private school tuition, and maybe they've got child support payments that they need to make. Someone who has to keep working because they've got intense overheads that they need to cover. You should not just relate financial freedom to people's gross pay. I think it really underestimates the value of what you do with your money. And I think this is maybe one of the key aspects when it comes to people feeling as though they're falling behind financially. They look at someone who is earning more and just imagine that they are doing better, but you don't really know what's going on. So take a look at this paper called Is More Always Better? And there's this very interesting quote here. Someone whose close associates earn 50k a year is likely to feel actively dissatisfied with their material standard of living if their own salary is only 40k a year, yet the same person would likely be content if his close associates are not 50k but 30k a year. And I think this, for me, really gets to the core of the issue. You start to benchmark yourself based on the people who are immediately around you. So don't necessarily compare yourself to those immediately around you. It can really distort the picture that you're painting for yourself. You have a credit score of over 797. The average UK credit score is 797 out of experience potential 999. Now, we should be really clear here that your credit score is based on a whole series of parameters. It's based on your payment history, the amount of money you owe, your credit utilization, that you pay your bills on time. Most people don't even know their credit score, so if you know it, good for you. And if you're above the 797, then you are doing better than most people in the UK. And this comes with a few key advantages. It means that should you need to borrow money, a high credit score means that you're more likely to access better rates because it tells potential lenders that you are good at keeping up with your debt obligations. The next sign is you have a good relationship with money. Now, I get it. Good relationship with money is kind of a vague term and depends entirely on what you want your relationship with money to be. Maybe it is buying that new car. Maybe it's providing for your kids. Maybe it's putting money away. Maybe it's hitting your investment targets. Understanding that your relationship with money and how you psychologically connect yourself with money is one of the fundamental parts of how you build wealth. Take a book like The Psychology of Money, a book that goes into great detail about some of the psychological tricks you can play on yourself and how you manage your relationship and your emotions with money. So being able to handle that relationship is going to be an important one in your life. So making sure you've got it mastered, top tier move. And the last sign is you care. You're watching this video. That shows that you've got a plan, that you want to start building wealth. Maybe you've had a rocky start with money and you're trying to get on the right track. Maybe you're at a C grade and you want to move up to a B grade. The fact that you are sitting here consuming this content, watching this channel, trying to build your financial knowledge, that's a god tier move. And I want to go back to the start of the video where we talked about these two. In a world where all you see is Neil Armstrongs, it can be very easy to feel like a Buzz Aldrin. And your finances are no different. You might be flying high, doing really well, but comparing yourself to the completely unrealistic or the completely fake. And one of the insane things about this modern world we live in is this idea that we should all adhere to the same idea of success. That big houses and fast cars and expensive watches and all that crap is the definition of financial success. And in my view, nothing could be further from the truth. Financial success can mean different things to different people. So how you define it is really up to you. Thanks very much for watching. We have this video here about tips from an ISA millionaire and the video I mentioned here about the average wage in the UK. I would really recommend checking them both out. They both have important information. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe. You've been watching Modern Money Talk. Thanks for watching.